We flew to Nairobi last October and met up with the rest of the team, 12 runners in total. That Saturday, we ran the marathon in Nairobi and then got to spend a week in the village where all the children we found sponsors for lived. As we ran 26.2 miles through the streets of Nairobi at an elevation of 5,500 feet in 85-degree humid weather, my thoughts turned to the children and their futures. This temporary suffering I chose to endure, and the sometimes awkward conversations with friends or coworkers, meant an end to their suffering, a hope for their future, and it meant that World Vision workers would share the love of Christ with them and their families. Kirsten recently traveled to Sri Lanka. She was there with World Vision staff, and they were meeting with Hindi families that were being served by World Vision. The mother of the family looked at Kirsten and the staff and said, "Why did you come here? Why did you give up your comforts, your life, to come serve us?" And the World Vision worker responded, "We do this because our God is love." I don't know a better way to mission to someone. February is bonus month at American Express, and yet again, God has chosen to bless me with money I don't need. Money that could easily buy a new car, a new house, or some great vacation. But now, with my personal mission field in mind, Kirsten and I are dreaming up ideas on how we can use that money to get more people involved in God's work this year and to care for the widows and orphans in their distress. So that's my story. That brings us here today. I hope you're not judging me too bad, thinking that it took 6 mission trips over 15 years before I finally woke up to God's calling in my life. So what now? Over the next few minutes, I hope that I can share a few practical thoughts with you that might help you avoid the 15 years it took me to finally open my eyes, that you might do something today. We're here to talk about missions tonight and the Great Commission. I've shared some stories about how missions trips have impacted my life, but that's the truth. They impacted me far more than I impacted those I served. The people I've encountered throughout my travels have given me so much more than I could ever give them. They've opened my eyes up to the mission that God has placed before me. Some of you may become full-time pastors, missionaries, or relief workers. However, the vast majority of you, like me, will probably end up as a lawyer, a doctor, a businessman, or something normal like that. So how do we live out the Great Commission and God's will for our lives every single day, and not just during a few isolated missions experiences? I'm going to share with you 4 things that I think you can start doing today. Things that if you put them in place, it might help you realize God's calling for your life and allow you to share the good news of Jesus Christ everywhere you go. Number 1, it's a very corporate one. Have a personal mission statement. What are you going to do to respond to God's calling in your life? There are all sorts of missions that might be placed before you. Serve the poor, preach God's word, be a light in a dark place, serve the homeless. I don't know what your calling is. God does. And you need to seek out His guidance for your life. I think the Bible is a pretty good place to look for a mission statement. My personal mission statement is found in James 1:27. Pure religion is this, to care for the widows and orphans in their distress. My mission has become the driving force in my life. I'm no longer motivated by career, money, or promotion. I'm now motivated by how I can use my everyday, normal life to help as many people as I possibly can, and through that work, to share the gospel of Jesus Christ with everyone I meet. What is your personal mission statement? Number 2, do something. In Acts chapter 1, after Jesus is ascended into heaven, we read this. They were looking intently up into the sky as he was going, when suddenly 2 men dressed in white stood beside him. Men of Galilee, why do you stand here looking into the sky? I think too many of us talk about doing a great deal of good things, but we never get around to doing it. We just end up staring into the sky. Look how long it actually took me to do something. When I met my wife in 2006, I was 50 pounds overweight and horribly out of shape. My fraternity nickname was Fat Andy. I decided that it was time to turn my health around, so 5 years ago I began running races to raise money for those in Africa. Since then, I've completed 4 marathons, 4 half marathons, 3 100-mile cycling races, 2 Olympic triathlons, 2 half Ironman, that's 70.3 miles, and countless other road races, all to raise money for those in need, but just as importantly, to share my mission with those I come into contact with every day. I like to brag about these races because I used to be the fat guy. But the most amazing part is, now it's the first question anyone asks me when they see me. What crazy event are you training for now? And guess what I get to say? Hey, I'm running a marathon this year to raise money to take care of kids in Africa. Do you want to help? How cool is that? I don't even have to bring it up anymore. doing something, how can God use you? I'm constantly reminded of the quote from St. Francis of Assisi who said, "Preach the gospel at all times, and when necessary, use words." So what can you do here at Cornell? Join an on-campus ministry. Host a weekly small group in your dorm, your fraternity, your sorority, your house in college town. Go on a missions trip. Spend a summer interning for a missions-based organization. Share the gospel with your classmates. What are you going to do? Number 3, get your priorities straight. Your time and your money are arguably your greatest resources. How you spend them says a lot about your priorities. Do you waste a lot of your time doing anything you can except seek out God's will for your life? Channel surfing, playing on Facebook, goofing around with friends? I certainly did. How about your money? This isn't such a big deal for you today. College students don't necessarily have a lot of money. But very quickly, it will become one of the largest focus areas of your life. How to pay your bills, what to spend your money on, your 401k, your investment portfolio, your kids' college fund. It all adds up. Have you ever heard of a website called mint.com? It's a website that you can load all of your financial accounts into, bank accounts, credit cards, debit cards. It then tracks where and when you spend your money. It's got this cool feature where it shows for all of your spending by category in a pie chart. Our new financial goal is that the biggest slice in that pie is always charitable giving, putting our resources to work for God's mission. I would encourage you to do a little exercise for both your time and your money. Where do you spend it and why? Try to figure out where your priorities may be out of line with God's will for your life, with your personal mission statement, and readjust. Now, I know this might seem tough. Gee, I spend 60 hours a week studying. For engineers, maybe more. I spend less. But how can I possibly spend enough time on God's mission to make up for that time? Don't. Use that time for God's work. Are you a light on campus? Are you setting an example for others with how you conduct yourself in parties, class, with your study habits, with your attitude? Start thinking about each category of time and how you can use it to serve the Lord. Remember what Jesus said to the rich young man in Matthew chapter 10. Go, sell everything you have, and give it to the poor, and you'll have treasure in heaven. Then come follow me. Give up your time and your money to Christ. Allow him to use those things for his mission. If you sacrifice everything to him, he will use you in ways you cannot imagine. And finally, number 4, remind yourself every single day. There's no better example of how quickly you can become distracted from God's mission than my own life. How many interventions did I need from God before I started listening? Don't be like me. Start reminding yourself now. Write up your personal mission statement. Put it on the mirror in your bathroom. Make it the background on your computer. Put it everywhere you look. James said that passion is a good word that describes me. Crazy is another one. I actually got my mission statement tattooed on my arm. I have James 1:27 written out on my arm around a Coptic cross design that I found in rural Ethiopia. Every single time I look in the mirror, it's there staring back at me, reminding me that God has a calling for my life and one that I had better answer. I also have pictures of the children I serve everywhere I look. Every painting in my apartment, my office, my bedroom, it has something to do with my trips overseas. It's pretty hard to ignore, right? Ask yourself every single day, if I truly believe what I say I believe, why am I living the way I'm living? The challenge before us is huge. The Joshua Project cites that there are 2.84 billion people on planet Earth who have not yet been reached by the gospel. We all must do something if we're going to make a difference. Whether you serve as a full-time missionary, provide financial support to those in the front lines, share the gospel with your friends and classmates, co-workers and families, pray daily for God's children in the world, or sell all of your possessions and give them to Christ, make sure you do something today. Thank you guys for the time tonight. You're the light of God's Word here at Cornell and around the world. Remember to live that way every day.
Thanks so much, guys. Let's give him another hand. I hope that really spoke to you. For so many of us, we think things are so grandiose, like so big, and Andy's just a normal guy telling us, tangible tips on how we can apply the gospel mission to each and every single day. want to do it now is kind of talk about the things for the rest of the night, and also going forward. I think the great thing that Andy did is end with make it tangible. So we have some things that are going on that will help take what we've been learning the past few hours and kind of implement it. First, next week we'll be starting 45 days of prayer. Looking out for a follow-up email about that, but it's a way to just be intentional.